because all of the time that we're working with different theological topics and praxis, I want you to constantly in your mind be imagining your work as a leader, what you've experienced before in your own leadership, in the leadership of others, and how you imagine being a leader in these different areas. So, interpretive leadership has to do with how you shape the meanings of a group, what that group means to be doing, what the group means by its own identity and agency. Um, what's the meaning of the gospel? What's the meaning of ecclesiology? All of these different meanings have to do with how a leader is providing a community the capacities to do good interpretive work. So it isn't just that the leader delivers the meanings, but it's that you shape a community that does interpretive work in the context of meetings. Relational leadership means that you're connecting humans and groups of humans. You're nourishing those connections, both inside the organization as well as outside the organization. Implemental leadership means that we do need to have structures. Once you have 3 or 4 or 5 people, you do need some kind of structures. The question is, what kind of structures? What's their nature? What's their malleability? So you shape an organization so that it can continually experiment its way forward regarding its practices, its activities, what kind of structures it has. Our overall goal is that the gospel is embodied and articulated in an engagement with God on the ground. And so be reflecting all of the time on your own leadership experiences and imagination. Also, early in the Branson Martinez book, and I note another source for this, is this triad on church formation. Because your church is already formed in particular ways around these areas. The congregational formation has to do with the social relationships, the social traits inside the group, as well as how it relates to those who are on the margins of the group or outside the group. And so congregation formation could also be called social formation. It's the human dynamics of the group. Missional formation is particularly then participating with God beyond the boundaries, beyond the edges of the group's identity. Missional formation is the shaping of a church as the participants of that church pay attention to neighbors and context and God's initiatives in that context. Spiritual formation shapes the church to pay attention to God. And so while spirituality is often talked about particular activities, and we do need those, the overall purpose is to attend to and participate with God. So think of all these 3 areas as paying attention and participating. Congregational formation, how do you pay attention to each other? And how do you participate with each other? Missional formation, how do you pay attention to your context and participate? Spiritual formation, how do you pay attention to God and participate? Earlier, also, first week, you saw this particular framework, which was a typology of a way to understand your own church experience or churches that you may have connections with or that may seek your participation in leadership. I'm not going to review it at this point, but just be aware that whenever we're talking about ecclesiology, this needs to be in the background. Whenever we're talking about leadership, this is in the background because ecclesiology shifts inside these different stages and priorities, and how a leader functions effectively also shifts.